Hello, and welcome to FireMoonRose-Play Season 3, Episode 8. 9?
9.
I've lost track, honestly. It was such a short season. So, we are your co-hosts, Aurian MoonRose and Soul Wildfire, and today we'll be doing a review and season finale of Season 3, Limbo. How low can you go? Or I guess in this case, it's how high, low, in, out, cut up, flash you can go. But, before we get started with the review, Limbo was quite an interesting game, to say the least. I don't know if it's going to be a long review, but we'll see what happens from there. So, let's go ahead and break the boundaries into silence and black and white and start the review of Limbo with the gameplay and the controls. Like, there seriously isn't much to say about this. The gameplay's pretty simplistic along with the controls.
Yeah.
You go left, you go right, you're trying to solve, you're up and down sometimes, swinging. Sometimes there's, what is it? Sometimes there's puzzles to solve.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest gameplay mechanic of all, is the puzzles, because they definitely do vary.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But, I mean, the only ones that really stick out is the worm.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets stuck in your head, you have no control really over your character, other than he'll go whatever direction he wants, but if you hold the opposite direction, he does slow down a little bit.
Usually you have to jump or something. And
you jump.
Jump over some stuff, because at least you have control over the jumping. I'd be mad if you didn't have control over the jumping.
I know, right? Well, at that point, the game would have control, and it's like, well, why am I even trying?
Exactly, because you die automatically.
And then there's also the magnet gravities.
Oh.
I mean, it reverses you up to down, and sometimes you use magnets to keep things in place to solve puzzles, but I mean, that's really about it. So, I mean, what do you want to talk about with it?
For one thing, the gravity. Because it just angered me so much. Like, I would jump and I'd be like, oh yay, I got it just fine, and I would push the button and I just kept flying. I didn't even go down. I didn't go the way that it wanted me to,
Yeah, now see, that's the one debate I will go with you. I'm not going to say that the gravity / magnet area was not bad.
Yeah.
I still despised the worms the most. I don't know why. I just felt it was a little bit up higher in there.
I'm the opposite. I didn't like the gravity the most. I could handle the worm. That was fine, but I didn't like that at all, the gravity. But I mean, I liked it in the game because it added a new taste to it,
It did, at least.
But when I push the button, it should put me the direction that it's supposed to put me in.
Well, semi-spoiler at the end, where you have to hit it just right, and you come down and you go to the right. I'm not going to say what it does, but it's like whoosh, whoosh, it's like, oh my goodness. But I was ecstatic when we did it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely ecstatic.
Otherwise...
It's crazy.
Otherwise, I mean, that's really it. That's all that...
Yeah.
But the gameplay is simplistic, nonetheless, for the most part. It is enjoyable, and we talked to a few people on Limbo, and they said they had to look up the guides to try to figure out these puzzles. I'm really proud of us for solving the puzzles with no guide whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, granted, we probably could have only went like 4 episodes or something instead of 6, but I'm still proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good thing, too, is that the gameplay, you really feel good about yourself playing this game.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And I think that's really about it, right? Anything?
Yeah, for gameplay.
And controls?
Oh, well, I guess there's the jumping.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know, his jumping varies. Like, they have where, like, something's coming towards you and, like, you jump and he's just like, and then you just get killed by whatever's there or whatever. And it's like, what the heck happened? Like, a second he was like hopping like a whole meter, and the next second he was hopping one tiny little inch.
Or the worst, when he's caught up in a spider web, I swear he jumps like 500 meters.
Exactly. It's like, what the heck? You should have one jumping pattern.
Yeah.
Unless he's purposely trying to jump tiny, which why
would you do that?
Why would you jump a short distance when something's coming after you? It doesn't make any sense at all, but...
You're definitely handicapping yourself. But, I mean, otherwise, the controls mixed with the gameplay, like I said, is very, simplistic. I mean, there's a few things that are annoying, but that's really about it.
Yeah, exactly.
This game, and I'm going to say this now, and I'll mention it again in creativity of the story and whatnot, this game was literally made simplistic.
It was supposed to be.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
The puzzles were the challenge.
The puzzles were the challenge, and the interpretation, which we'll get into a little later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be very short because there's really not too much to talk about in each, especially the next one, music and effects.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 2 minutes or something. But anyway, we'll go ahead and go with our final rating. For the gameplay and the controls, I'm going to give it a 7. I mostly feel like we said, the controls are simplistic. The puzzles are challenging, but if you think outside the box, they're not too difficult.
Yeah.
But both the worm and the gravity seem to be my all-time hated. I mean, granted, the boxes and the blades were interesting. And that one where you had to, like, run and then run because of the trap that came down was kind of weird. And, I mean, you could miss your jump every now and then.
Yeah,
Like the jumps weren't extremely perfect. So that's why I'm personally going to give it a 7 for gameplay and controls.
Okay. Well, I really, really enjoyed the gameplay altogether, besides, like, the few things that, like, are a little bit annoying. But, like, it could be way worse. Like, the controls could be way worse. Like, let's say, like, they decided to mix it up and have, like, the B button be the jump or something, and blah, 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 so on.
There was, actually, now that I think about it, too, the controls, there was only, like, one button.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because the triggers didn't do anything.
Yeah, it was simplistic.
Yeah, it was left, right, up, down, and A.
Yeah, that wasn't the big issue with it, but,
So it reminds me of an NES game.
Yeah, but anyway, I give it a 9.
A 9. Definitely a little bit more higher than I thought you'd give. But like I said, I mean, I'm only giving it a 7 because of the fact that those were the few things I disliked. But 7 is still a little bit above average. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not bad. All right, so let's go ahead and move in quickly to the music and the effects.
So, music, where to start? I mean, there wasn't very much music, honestly. Like, the whole thing was pretty much the effects. If there was music, I'd say that it was, like, in a few parts of it or so, but not any memorable ones. I don't remember.
And see, I think they did that on purpose. I think that has to do a bit with the symbolism.
Exactly.
Because when you're in Limbo, everything is silent. You don't really hear much. Because even the sound effects, which we'll get into here in a sec, but even the sound effects were dim.
Yeah.
Dimmer. They were quieter than what would normally be. And I think that has to do with the fact that they were symbolizing the fact that this kid or teenager or something is stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
And so there's no sounds whatsoever. But you're right. I do remember there being like some hint of a music, where that'd be birds chirping in the background just slightly, because birds chirping is kind of their music. So I think there was music in the background, but a lot of it, most of it solely relied on sound effects.
That's about it.
Sound effects.
So for sound effects, because the whole thing was pretty much sound effects, I guess there was the kids shooting the arrows or whatnot. Like it would be like twing.
Yeah.
It throwing
the chainsaws were another one. The chainsaws you could hear, but really the only times it made a louder sound was when it hit the or buzzsaws. My fault. Is when it hit the boxes or started carving you up.
There was also the drowning sound or whatever when you were going under the water. water.
Oh. That one really gets to you, especially watching the effect of,
It's like,
of the kid, like...
Yeah, he can't swim.
I know, what kind of kid can't swim? Seriously.
Well, we don't know how old he is.
True.
But he honestly, if I'd have to put an age on it, I'd say he's probably 5. 5 or 6.
I'd say 5 to 8 personally, but yeah, somewhere near there.
Yeah, he could possibly be 8, I guess. But looks 5 to me. But I guess some kids can't swim at 5 or whatnot.
Well, even to this day, I can't swim extremely well.
I can't either.
My favorite sound in the whole game, I think personally, and kind of spoiler alert, is towards the end. I won't say where, but towards the end, when the glass shatters, when you go up and down and come around, you just hear that, and then it just starts slowing down. So that I thought that was probably the neatest part of the sound effect.
Yeah. There was the boulder rolling. I don't know how that.
No, but it sounded like
sounds.
I think
rolling sound.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the basic thing was that these were all natural effects.
Exactly, and there was a bear trap.
Aching!
Exactly.
Or when the spider.
Oh yeah, when it puts its legs down and whatnot.
To get it to fall from the tree, even. You hear that?
Clink. And there's also oh crap. Yeah, when you get impaled by different things, there's all kinds of difference. Yeah.
It's like, oh my.
There's a whole bunch of different sounds for death in this one. Especially
and it sometimes makes you just cringe and be like,
yeah.
The crushing.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yep, the crushing was, well, even if the sound effect didn't sound bad, the fact that then the thing starts coming up or down, and you just see his poor little body being stretched and the guts falling or whatever it was, like, that's realistic. And we'll get into that with reality in the next one, but yeah, no, just, Alright, so I think that's just about everything, honestly.
Yeah.
So what would be your rating for the music sound effects?
I have to give it a 7, honestly.
7?
Because I felt if they would have added just a little bit more music and whatnot, and at least some eerie sound in the background that I can at least kind of connect with. Because I know that they're trying to symbolize Limbo, but it feels like it should be a little bit more creepy and dark sounding.
Right, because because I'm guessing in the end it's because we're still the player and we're wanting to feel it more. So that's
it would add more feeling to this.
See, I'm gonna go on the complete other spectrum. You gave it a high number and I gave it a little. I'm giving it a 9. I would give it a 10, but I do agree that the sound effects could be a little bit higher at certain points and maybe a hint of music. But honestly, for me, it's the whole symbolism. The fact that it's supposed to be Limbo and that they're trying to get you to feel that it's Limbo.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you're in Limbo with this kid. You are the kid.
Yeah.
So you don't get to hear the music, and that's the worst thing of all. Because, I mean, and I know we'll get into it a little bit with creative bits of the story, but, I mean, I'll just say this, there is no story, technically. Yeah. I mean, unless you read the very synopsis at the beginning before you start the game, before loading it up, or read the guide or something before you download it, you don't get any story. But I'm going to give it a 9 because I honestly feel like they were staying true to whatever they were attempting to do personally. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on next to graphics and reality, and, well, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. So the creators of Limbo really decided to take it a completely different way with the graphics. Instead of doing color or black and white, everything is taking place through, I guess, shadows. So there's no light or an abstract of light. And I suppose it could have something to do with it being Limbo again. But it wants the player not to be able to see the stuff. So, I mean, it's not quite a black and white game. It probably does have color to it. It's just the fact that everything's in shadows. And there's a good video on it. I think it's 52 seconds long or something. Where the Limbo kid finds a flashlight and starts shining. And everything's colorful and nothing's wrong until the end when he flashes on himself and he's all dead and zombie-like. But the point is that I know a lot of people don't like black and white, but that's not what this is.
Yeah.
It's literally just everything is in shadows, and for, again, not only the symbolism that it might go with, but just the fact that I actually like this route.
Yeah.
It's a way to do black and white, but without considering it black and white.
For sure.
But other than that, the graphics could range anywhere from Super NES to PlayStation. It's hard to tell, but honestly, I can't. The graphics look nice, I guess. That's all I can really say about graphics. Anything you want to add about graphics?
I'd say even though it is in black and white, like, you can at least tell the shapes really well.
That is true.
And the spider looked really nice for one thing. The spider was way nice.
The spider looked creepy looking from the back.
He looked like a spider. Like, it wasn't like, what the heck is that thing coming up at me? Like, you knew it was a spider at least.
Even when all the legs were missing but one, when you pulled that leg off, you were still like, oh my god. And I think the game's more terrifying. Not in a, oh my god, I'm scared way, but oh my god, what the crap just happened? Like, getting impaled and stuff like that.
Yeah, the darkness of it. I guess the hotel sign.
The hotel sign for the graphics.
Looked really nice.
It looked extremely nice. I love the frying mechanic, too, when you hit it. We forgot to talk about that with, like, the puzzles or something. But, yeah, there was a hotel sign, which sort of problematic, but in an easy way. I did like the hotel sign. I also, again, liked the glass shattering scene. It was just cool to watch the slow-mo and the...
So, I think that's about it.
Yeah, so reality. I mean, other than the giant spider, of course. I mean, and the fact that you're possibly in limbo. Because there's many ways to look at this. I'm going to say the game's about as real as it can get. I mean, the crushing, the spike landing. Like I said, other than the spider's the only thing where it's just like, yeah, you wouldn't see a spider that big.
Yeah.
But at least if you're in a world where spiders are that huge, the fact that you don't get to see the spider much.
Yeah, well, it's not in the real world. You have to take account of that for sure. It's not in the real world, so it could technically be as big as it wants to be.
That's true. Especially since one of the theories that you like to stick with, which we'll talk about in creativity, is the fact that it's his fears.
Yeah.
You're going to fear a giant spider more than a little itty bitty one.
Well, yeah, little tiny little... Just squish it.
Yeah, just...
Yeah.
And then the mama comes out and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But no, I mean, even pretending the giant spider exists, it looks real.
Yeah.
Like, I could see that thing chasing me down a hallway. So, at least for me, I'm going to say the reality of it is pretty on par.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anything else you'd like to add to reality?
Besides him getting crushed and killed many times, because, like, I don't know, his head just kept flying off at, like, everything.
Oh, like the machine gun.
Yeah.
That's right, there was that machine gun with the red lasers. And I jumped up the first time and started shooting in the back, like, oh, that's nice. And his head just goes flopping.
No, I'm not sure that would exactly happen. But
I mean, machine gun, maybe, I guess, if it broke the neck, but a lot of the other things that where his head came off, shouldn't have.
Yeah, sometimes it shouldn't have, but I think it was just supposed to make that eerie feel to it. So.
Probably. Or that creep out factor, like I said, not, oh my god, I'm afraid, or, oh my god, what the... Though I will say, reality that was stupid, and I understand that it probably did. When like one of those things were here and you were running away and it was coming down.
Yeah.
Like it barely hits you and you died.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I understand if it's going at a fast force and it hits you just right in the head, obviously you're gonna die. Yeah. But I felt like it shouldn't have done that.
It tapped a few times.
Or my personal favorite, when that weight system was going up and down, and I jumped through it, or maybe it was you as one of us, jumped through it and the character just dies. When I still had plenty of room, that was, But I'm going to say for the most part, reality was quite on par.
Yeah, for the most part.
All right, so is that everything for you?
Yep.
All right, so I'll go ahead and give my rating first. For the graphics and reality, the route that they were going, I mean, I mostly completely feel for it, so I am going to give this a 10.
Okay.
I'm going full out 10. And granted, are the graphics as hardcore as they could be nowadays? No. Are the graphics and reality of it at least plausible? Yes. And that's why I'm giving it a 10. And that's another thing. When you play a game like this, like Oxenfree, like the games that have the graphics dumbed down on purpose, you kind of feel like giving it a higher rating for that retrospect.
Yeah.
But the fact that they also use shadows, not black and white, was a completely different method.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it in games where you have a flashlight and whatnot, but you've never seen it where you can actually clearly see everything.
Yeah.
And for that, that's why I'm going to give it a full out 10 on this one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go with a 9, and it's because of the reality factor of it. Because some of it was just not. You shouldn't have died from it.
No, agreed there.
But for the most part, doing this in shadows and all that, it was absolutely perfect. Like every single characteristic and detail that was
my
there.
mind saw the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You could tell, You could tell at least halfway what it was. Because, like, it leaves your mind open to the imagination of it.
And that's the thing why I gave it a 10 personally. Like I said, I understand the killing thing on yourself, because I had a few instances of that too. But I really did just feel like that this game did something different that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So, alright. So, next up is the creativity of the story. Woo, boy. It's not going to be what you normally see here on the show. So let's go ahead and trickle our way into that and see what that can lead to.
So, creativity of the story, I mean, there isn't exactly a defined story on this game. There's, like, a whole bunch of different interpretations.
And I guess technically, to be fair, there is no story.
Not a defined story. They don't ever give it away in the whole thing what exactly happens. So you kind of like have to come up with your own story for it. But there's a whole bunch of different theories, like whether you're actually like how you die is one of them.
Right, like how did the kid die for sure?
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch of different things that they have, like car crash is one of them, and dying from the treehouse is another. I don't fully exactly see the car crash one, honestly. I mean, there's a whole bunch of tires.
There's a lot of tires throughout the game, actually.
Glass breaking.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's not enough to proof for me to think that it is.
I guess before she continues any further, we should probably say spoilers ahead, because obviously this is going to really go into the end of the story. So anyway, continue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess the glass breaking could be a windshield, but it still doesn't make enough sense to me.
Well, it could, and this is just something that just popped in my head instantaneously. It could be that the treehouse somehow actually had actual glass windows, and they fell through that.
Have no idea there. I mean, I don't find it very good for a treehouse to have glass, especially if it's for kids. But I guess it'd keep them in the treehouse.
Or at least that's what the parents thought.
Yeah, in the treehouse.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think I would go personally with the treehouse story more than any of the other ones, because I mean, it shows up at least twice, doesn't it?
Twice or 3 times.
Well, there's these kids that are supposedly trying to kill you and whatnot.
Yeah, and you murder there.
Yeah, they go in the treehouse at one point, and then towards the end of the game, you finally find your sister, and she's near a treehouse.
Which, if you never read about what the game was about through the downloading thing, you didn't even know that was your sister.
Yeah, exactly. Because I honestly think, though, that he's going through Limbo to try to find what happened to his sister, because from what it made it sound like, the only part that actually gives any of the story away, with that, like, one line, uncertain of your sister's fate,
Yeah.
I think that they both died together, and he's trying to find out if she actually died. Because he knows that he died, probably, at this point.
Right.
He just don't know if his sister died, which he's trying to find her. That's what I think happened.
Well, and that's where the story kind of derives a little bit, because it's that point where you see your sister, you get hit with that worm,
and it turns
and
you around.
it turns you around, but then when you come back, everything's completely different, like you're on an acid trip or something.
Exactly, and honestly, that's how, that if it's like what it was before, you could end up going through it all again, being she disappeared that one time too.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going to happen after that, because they just leave it there. But and then there's the theory whether she's alive or dead and whatnot.
And that's actually the theory that I go for in this game, is that he is dead. He's in limbo. And like I said, this is my personal opinion. I think that he starts exploring, trying to find his sister, realizes that she's not there, and he actually goes through all these lengths and whatnot to get to the end of the game, where he shatters through limbo back into reality, and that's why his sister looks terrified. Or at least the sprite looks like, what are you doing here?
I don't know. She kind of straightened her back, and that was about it.
Yeah. It made me feel like it was oh my. I mean, without, again, being able to see, of course.
Yeah.
Because there was a theory also stating that the reason why you know he's dead and the sister's not is the eyes.
Yeah.
But I honestly think he broke through into reality to find his sister one last time and tell her goodbye.
But see, even those boys that were shooting him or whatnot didn't have the eyes.
That is true.
So what? He's the only one dead, and he's going through this.
Well, that gets a darker theory. That I don't know if they talk about it, because he murdered them. He flat out murdered them, pretending that they're alive. This then makes you wonder: is the kid dead because he was murdering people, and that's why they pushed him out of the treehouse? I mean, there's so many different theories you could go on this, but I mean, that is a dark one right there. He got pushed out of the treehouse because he killed everybody, and he broke through reality because he's out to kill his sister.
Yeah, I don't want to go with that.
Oh, I like my theory, you like yours, and we're good with that.
But, like, there's so many reasons he could have those eyes, whether it be that he's really, like, he's a really dark person, or he's a really good person.
Or maybe also, they have the eyes just to define the character in dark areas.
Exactly, they could just literally just have it for you to see.
Because, I mean, there are a few scenes where it is kind of dark.
Or completely.
And that special mission that we didn't get to play,
that is completely
that is
dark.
almost completely dark. Without those eyes, you would not know where you were going.
Exactly. See, so I think it might honestly just be so you can see where you're going. It might not even be his, like, eyes. It might just be there to show you.
And that is a strong possibility. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at this. I mean, I can't say your theory's not right. You can't say that mine's not right, because they literally, because of the fact that there is no story.
Yeah.
This is a thing that completely lets the player decide its own story after watching it all and looking it up on Wikipedia.
Exactly. But I also like the theory that he's going through his life again too. Like they have where, like, that hotel and whatnot.
Right. Like he's visiting a childhood place that's dilapidated now.
Twists and turns in his life or whatnot. Described by the saws and stuff. Trying to get through different hurdles.
See, and then that still makes me wonder then, if that one's true, if that theory were to be true, what is the glass shattering? And that does come back to, has to be a car accident. Because, I mean, when he goes through the glass, it's not just and falls, it's... And then even when he hits the ground, he's sliding on it for a bit. So, I mean, that's an interesting...
I don't know. I think, my theory with the glass shattering is that they are both in limbo, but he's shattering the glass, entering her side of limbo.
And see, I was just thinking you were going to go with that. Basically,
Limbo.
it's like
He's breaking into her
what is
side.
it? The old Greeks, Hades in the underworld. Each person had their own specific whatever, but sometimes you could enter into it. Yeah, he broke out of his into hers to get to her again. That's actually kind of romantic in a brotherly, sisterly kind of way. So that's not a bad theory right there.
Yeah, he breaks into her part of Limbo where she's at, and then towards the end there's flies near their
right
after and it's flies.
After the credits roll, it shows flies where the bodies were in the tree houses above, which is supposed to signify that they did possibly fall out of the tree house as well.
Exactly, they fell out of the tree house.
They had to have fallen out together or something. I can't see one jumping after the other. Like, something had to have happened that got them both out at the same time.
I don't know. There was that fire in that one special thing. Makes me wonder if maybe they didn't fall out of it. Maybe it like burnt.
That is a possibility.
Maybe it's set on fire.
Especially depending on when it takes place. Nowadays, everything's got some form of electricity in it.
Well, it would definitely explain why it looks all torn apart and stuff, because it does look like half of the thing's there and it's all ragged, you know? So I think that would also explain that it's set on fire.
True.
But, yeah, the only way that I can think of that ending part is they both died. They had to find each other to enter heaven.
And that's a nice way to go at it. Like I said, can't prove... And see, that's why I kind of like mine, is that at least only the brother's dead. He's not only breaking out of Limbo to make sure his sister's alive, but giving one last final goodbye, and now the sister gets to live. Of course, I guess you could also kind of go dark again and say that because the brother never showed back up, that she died right on the spot waiting for him, refused to eat, whatnot. But I'm going to go with she lived a happy life afterward myself. And I know my theory's probably completely wrong, but since there's no story, no narrative, that's what I'm going to assume happened.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably a good place. We've got like 10 minutes on theories and whatnot. So, what is your final rating on the creativity of the story, or their lack of ish?
Honestly, I think it makes you think a lot. Like, a lot. You're paying attention to every little thing, trying to piece together what's gonna, what's exactly happening, where you're at, and whatnot. So I honestly think that I'm gonna give it a 10.
A 10. Nice. You gave it a 10 where I gave the graphics reality. Now, see, this one's got me torn. I am a big fan of story. So the fact that there's, like, no story other than what they gave you and the little bit at the end, I want to give it a 5. 5, for just average. But you are right. There is that bit that causes you to think. Causes you to, hey, this ending, that ending. Then you watch other people's theories. And it really gives story to this game. But I don't want to give it a 10 on this one. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think it's middle way there.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I think a lot of people playing this game is in it mostly for the puzzles. And like she said, it does make you think a lot. And I love the fact that it does do that. I wish I could give it a 10. But I just wish there was just a little bit more narrative somewhere. I mean, it didn't have to explain anything. It would have been nice because we went in there not even knowing. I don't think we ever once read the synapses before starting the game.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what was going on, much less that the end person was the sister. We had no clue. If you just skip all the reading, which is like a paragraph and a half, or, a line and a half, you seriously don't know what's going on. And basically, at that point, it's just a game where you're solving puzzles.
Well, yeah, and that goes into creativity, too, the puzzles. They had to put their mind into, like, especially that one where you had to hop on the box and slide down. You had to really think outside the box.
That one was cool.
And that creativity part really boosted it up there, too, for sure, for me.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I completely agree with her rating of a 10. I can definitely see people loving it for those reasons exactly. Just for me, I just wanted some type of narrative to let me know, hey, you're finding your sister. I mean, even if it was at the beginning, even if you would have started the game and it said the sentence that you said, I would have been happy with that. That would at least boost it up to an 8, 8.5. But that's my personal opinion, and, you know, everybody has their own opinion, and in the end, it's still not going to hurt what the final rating is for this game for me. So, it's just how I felt like rating this one. So, speaking of final ratings, let's go ahead and get into our thoughts on exactly what we thought is the game as a whole. So, again, this is one of those games where I kind of don't know what to think about it for the rating. I have ideas, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go first on your final rating.
Okay, so the puzzles are definitely going to put it up there because they really had where you had to think outside the box for sure. And the sound effects were, I mean,
there.
Yeah, I guess. I don't like that they didn't add more eerie music in the background, but I do like all the sound effects they did add to make it kind of, you know, that creepy feel to it. The graphics in reality, I mean,
they were as good as they could be.
Yeah, as good as they could be, pretty much. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the game a 9.
A 9. I wasn't too far from that, so I think I will stick with mine, which was an 8. Okay. The reason why I say an 8 is because, first of all, the gameplay mechanics and the controls were good, minus the 2 things that I really disliked. The music, like you said, there could have maybe been a little eerie noise in the background. It didn't have to even be music.
Halo?
Yeah, like, there you go, Halo. The graphics in reality, like I said, I rated that a 10. That's on par.
Yeah.
And the reality, as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And the main reason why mine is an 8 is basically, again, the creativity. As where it was nice that you could sit there and create stuff, it was also the fact that the story was kind of not there at the same time. And that's really the main reason why I'm giving it the 8. Most of it is going, I'd say 1.5 is going for the creativity lack of.
Yeah.
Other than what you threw into it. And then the 0.5 is for the controls. Just for those 2 certain areas. But 8 and a 9, so I would say our final rating altogether would have to be a 8.5. So that's still pretty darn good for this game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Oxenfree. But it definitely is in a field of its own between the shadowy things, the puzzles, and the tell your own story type of storytelling. So, we're going to go ahead and leave it here for now. When we come back, we'll be starting Gone Home for Season 4. So, until next time, remember, keep gaming, never give up, and remember, if there's something that looks scary in the shadows, just grab a flashlight. It's probably something that's not that bad at all.